Measuring consumption. Next, we turn to consumption. Consumption refers to all the goods and services that are used in a given period of time. Consumption is typically a better measure of well-being than income is. This is because consumption fluctuates less over time, as households can save and borrow money to smooth their consumption over time. Consumption is also a more direct measure of well-being. This is particularly the case when one is interested in the well-being of individuals within households, since household members will still consume some food and other goods even if they have no income. The distribution of income within a household does not necessarily correspond to who consumes the most. This graph illustrates how smoothing consumption over time through borrowing and saving can lead to different estimates of wealth. Consumption for two individuals is shown in this graph in red and in blue, and consumption is represented by the smoothed dotted lines, while income is represented by the solid lines. In this graph, the total income for each person is equal to total consumption over the period that's shown. It's obvious that the individual represented by the red lines in the graph has more income on average and higher consumption as well. However, since income fluctuates, if we measured income at certain points of time, say period 7 on the graph, we get the result that blue has higher income. However, if we measure consumption, we always get the result that red consumes more. So how can we measure consumption? First of all, we need to make the distinction between consumption and expenditures. Consumption refers to what people are currently consuming, or what goods and services they use at the moment. Expenditures, on the other hand, refer to what people buy, or how much money is spent on goods and services. While these two categories will be the same in the long run, in the short run they may differ. Here are some categories of consumption that you might ask about on surveys. Of course, you'll need to adapt survey questions to fit local needs, and you should consult with local staff and the population of interest to come up with the best list of questions for the setting. Even though consumption is generally smoother over time, in some areas, consumption during seasonal festivals, weddings, or other celebrations might be higher than it is on average for the rest of the year. This spending on festivals might make up a large portion of total annual consumption. The simple solution to this problem is to ask about spending during these events specifically. Again, it's important to consult with local staff and the population to identify which festivals involve large expenditures in order to create the most effective survey. In some cases, it's enough to simply record quantities consumed and then to compare those quantities across individuals. The obvious disadvantage to this approach is that it's difficult to compare consumption levels of households or individuals when those households or individuals consume a different basket of goods. If this is the goal of the analysis, then you'll want to put a monetary value on the goods and services which people consume. A complication here is that prices might vary across time and place. Total consumption equals the quantity of goods consumed times the price of those goods. You can compare this number to income, savings, and debt to make sure that you have an accurate picture of a person's financial situation. Understanding finances also means that it's necessary to get an idea of a person or household's borrowing and savings. These are the tools that are used for smoothing consumption when income is unstable or infrequent. Understanding the availability and usage of credit markets is also crucial for designing interventions, so this might be useful information to gather in any case. Bear in mind that the poor may owe money to several different sources of loans, including family members, money lenders, microfinance institutions, or community leaders. Be sure to ask about all of these possible sources of debt to get a more accurate measure of a person's financial situation.